Good morning, Europe. It's Wednesday, the 19th of January. Let's start by looking at our top stories.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken heads for Ukraine as Moscow ramps up its military presence on the border. Washington is warning Russia could attack at any point. The COVID-19 health crisis could end this year, the World Health Organization says, if richer countries do more to ensure vaccine equity across the globe. From partygate to the pork pie putsch, Boris Johnson's future as UK Prime Minister hangs in the balance as Tory MPs discuss a vote of no confidence.
Tensions between Russia and the US are continuing to escalate over Ukraine. In its latest military move, Moscow sent troops to Belarus for joint military exercises along the latter's southern border with Ukraine. US officials are warning that the situation is on a knife's edge and an attack from Russia could be imminent.
Where things stand right now, President Putin has created this crisis by amassing 100,000 Russian troops along Ukraine's borders. This includes moving Russian forces into Belarus recently for joint exercises and conducting additional exercises on Ukraine's eastern border. So let's be clear, our view is this is an extremely dangerous situation. We're now at a stage where Russia could at any point launch an attack in Ukraine.
In search of a diplomatic way out of the growing crisis, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is expected to meet with President Volodymyr Zelensky and Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba in Kiev to reinforce the United States' commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He is also due to meet with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Geneva on Friday to urge Moscow to take immediate steps to de-escalate. However, Russia has made its stance clear it won't negotiate until NATO promises it will not expand into former Soviet nations, something the US and its allies have rejected. Amid growing tensions, Sweden has boosted its military presence on the island of Gotland in the Baltic Sea. Its military says it's ready to defend their values.
The Omicron variant is not giving any respite to Europe. France recorded almost 500,000 new daily cases on Tuesday, its highest ever recorded tally since the start of the pandemic. Meanwhile, coronavirus deaths in hospital increased by 288. In response to the growing number of new infections in Russia, authorities have shortened the period of self-isolation required for people infected with COVID-19 from 14 to 7 days. In Romania, the number of new cases has doubled in the past 24 hours as the country battles a fifth wave of the pandemic. It is the second least vaccinated state in the European Union, with around 40% of the population fully inoculated. Huge inequities in vaccination rates are a cause for concern at the World Health Organization, with experts claiming that the worst of the pandemic could be over this year if it wasn't for these inequalities.
We won't end the virus this year. We may never end the virus. These viruses, pandemic viruses, end up becoming part of the ecosystem. What we can end is the public health emergency.
With Europe increasingly pushing for vaccination passports, Denmark has introduced a new measure that allows companies to fire employees if they refuse to show a health pass proving they have been vaccinated or have tested negative for COVID-19.
From partygate to the pork pie plot, Boris Johnson's role as UK Prime Minister is hanging in the balance as members of his own party appear to withdraw their support over the lockdown party scandal. Some 20 Conservative MPs are reportedly discussing submitting letters of no confidence, but Johnson still insists he didn't do anything wrong.
Nobody told me that what we were doing was, as you say, against the rules, that the event in question was something that we were going to do something that wasn't a work event.
Johnson's former chief advisor, Dominic Cummings, says the Prime Minister was forewarned and that the online invitation for the gathering instructed people to bring their own booze.
Was your closest advisor, and he said he verbally warned you about this. Is he lying?
I can't believe that we would have gone ahead with an event that people were saying was against the rules or against what we were asking people to do. And nobody warned me that it was against the rules.
Discussions over ousting Johnson have been dubbed the pork pie plot due to one of the MPs representing the savoury foods heartland. In reality, 54 letters from Tory lawmakers are needed to trigger the vote. 6 MPs have so far publicly announced that they have submitted letters.
In France, Education Minister Jean-Michel Blanquer is under pressure from teachers' unions over revelations he was on holiday on the Spanish island of Ibiza when he announced a strict new COVID-19 testing protocol for students earlier this month. Euronews reporter David Chazan has the latest from Paris.
This row is damaging for the French government's image just 3 months before a presidential election, and it could hardly come at a worse time for the embattled education minister Jean-Michel Blanquer. Last Thursday, half the schools in France were closed for the day as teachers went on strike over his failure to consult them about changes in COVID rules before he announced them in the media. Teachers are planning more local strikes and street protests this Thursday, so his trip to Ibiza is set to stay in the headlines. Opposition parties and some teachers' unions are demanding his resignation, and some senior figures in his own party are growing increasingly impatient with him. He's not accused of having broken the law, and this is a relatively small affair compared to the Downing Street party scandal raging in London. Nevertheless, the timing of this row is terrible for President Macron.
The murder of a 23-year-old schoolteacher in Ireland has united voices from around the world to call for an end of violence towards women. Last Wednesday, Aisling Murphy was brutally murdered while going for a run in the town of Tullamore, County Offaly. Vigils in memory of Murphy have been held all across Ireland and in major cities around the globe. Ireland's Taoiseach Micheál Martin and Irish President Michael D. Higgins were among the mourners at her funeral on Tuesday. Gardaí investigating the murder say they've arrested a man in his 30s. Our reporter Ken Murray says Irish authorities have promised to do more to stamp out violence against women.
Aisling Murphy was herself a school teacher, a very popular woman, very actively involved in music and sport, and the nature of her killing has, if you like, caught the attention of the nation in such a way that such has been the coverage in the last 5 days that the government has indicated that it plans to set up a unit and dedicate a minister to look at the whole issue of gender violence, in particular men attacking women. They feel that this particular attack has taken things that step too far, and there's going to be a concentrated effort in the months and years ahead to create better awareness about gender violence in the hope that what happened here in Tullamore last Wednesday won't happen again. Such was the outpouring of grief and support for the Murphy family that vigils were held in a number of Irish centres around the world, in places like Boston, in Massachusetts, New York, London, Melbourne and Sydney, places where there are large Irish communities, and the entire Irish diaspora has, if you like, unified together to say enough is enough.
Tech giant Microsoft is buying the gaming company Activision Blizzard for €60 billion, acquiring blockbuster games like Call of Duty and Candy Crush. The deal will help Microsoft grow its mobile gaming profile and provide building blocks for the metaverse. The announcement comes with Activision still in turmoil over allegations of sexual misconduct. Following the announcement, Chairman Satya Nadella said gaming is the most dynamic and exciting category in entertainment across all platforms today. The CEO added this new era will make gaming safe, inclusive and accessible to all. The acquisition marks Microsoft's largest incursion into the competitive world of gaming to date. The all-cash deal will turn the tech giant, maker of the Xbox gaming system, into one of the world's largest video game companies and help it compete with tech rivals such as Meta, formerly Facebook, in creating immersive virtual worlds for both work and play.